It began with me not expressing my opinions and voicing my thoughts to avoid making anyone angry. I believed I didn't need to do so and that I could keep my thoughts to myself. You know, they say introverts don't really need to voice their opinions. When my friends used to ask me questions like, "What is your favorite food?" I would answer with one of the most popular foods that everyone likes. Or I would dodge the question by asking them. Even with my family, I didn't feel the need to express myself about anything. It wasn't a big deal, and I was okay with it. I wasn't bothered by it. Then one day, while sitting alone at home, eating lunch, a traditional Friday dish, couscous, I ate it very slowly. For a moment, I stopped and said to myself, maybe I don't like this dish. This one moment and one thought made me realize that forcing myself for years not to express my mind had even silenced my inner voice. I didn't know what I liked or what I hated, whether it was about food, places, or people. I felt like an empty person. All I wanted at that time was to have friends. That's all I had back then. Nothing more, nothing less. To make friends, I had to suppress myself and distance myself from who I truly was, which was awful. And I was quite miserable. My anxiety didn't help, it only made things worse. My body's reaction to anxiety failed me every time. I remember the day I voiced my opinion to one of my classmates over the phone. My voice was shaken and my body trembled. It was a hot day, but my body's reaction made it feel like I was in a very cold room, shivering from the cold when it was in fact summer. From that day on, I promised myself that I would voice my mind more, even if it meant I would cry, tremble, or my body and voice may fail me, which they did most of the time. But I still voiced my opinions every chance I got. It was hard, very hard. I recall one day when I was talking about coding as I had started to learn things I enjoyed, and one of my ex friends interrupted me and said, "We're not smart like you, so we can't learn to code." This experience was so hurtful that I felt the need to downplay my hobbies and competence to avoid making her feel bad or uncomfortable. I was trying to please her and my so called friends, but I didn't stop voicing my mind on other matters. Things got worse each time I tried to express my thoughts. This friend would get angry at me, and whenever I showcased one of my skills, the same thing would happen. She would get angry and try to stop me, so I had to do something about it. I chose myself, and I chose to distance myself from her. It was one of the best decisions I made during my time at university. Some of my classmates approached me and asked why I had stopped talking to her. As we used to be close, my response was simply, "We didn't get along, that's it." To be honest, at that stage of my life and after years of working to reconnect with myself, I started caring less about others' opinions. I had built a good reputation, which helped me find other teams to work with during my 2 years of master's degree studies. which was a positive development. Little by little, I began to be more open about myself, what I liked and what I disliked. Even though there are many things about which I have no opinion, and that's perfectly fine with me. If you were to ask me something and I felt the need to voice my opinion on it, I would. There is always a price to pay, and I accept that. I would rather lose friends, clients, or even an argument than lose myself again. One of my friends once asked me for my opinion, and I chose to share my true thoughts with her in a gentle manner. I explained my perspective and provided a reasonable argument. Her response to my viewpoint, which she had requested, was to stop talking to me. This is the price I mentioned earlier. I'm not suggesting that I should impose my opinion on anyone or overshare my thoughts. I only do so when I feel it's necessary, when it goes against my values, or when someone doesn't respect my boundaries. In such cases, I will share my thoughts and voice my mind. When friends seek feedback, I follow a set of rules. 1. When should I share my opinion? I do so when I am alone with the person who asked for my opinion. 2. When should I do it? I choose a moment when the person is not preoccupied with something else, feeling extremely happy or sad, to avoid potentially hurting their feelings or disrupting their mood. I wait for the right moment or for them to approach me directly. What language should I use and how should I convey my message? Regardless of whether the person is sensitive or not, I always choose my words carefully. I aim to express my thoughts clearly and without causing unnecessary harm. From someone who deals with anxiety, I can tell you that there is no more challenging task than speaking up our minds and opinions. Each time I tried to voice my thoughts, I felt like my body failed me and my voice trembled. During the few times I managed to do it, I felt an overwhelming sense of happiness and pride in myself. Expressing oneself is especially hard when you are surrounded by people who do not respect or value you. One thing that has significantly helped me in this journey is reading books, especially those that answer my questions and provide solutions to my problems. Even if you don't have specific questions in mind, reading any kind of book, whether it's a novel or otherwise, can be incredibly insightful. Sometimes you stumble upon the right questions you should have asked yourself in the most unexpected books. One book that I highly recommend is Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. It's an excellent guide for improving interpersonal communication skills. I use its principles in my everyday and professional life. This book has not only helped me navigate my relationships with others, but also understand myself better. Understanding oneself and one's emotions is an essential aspect of personal growth. I've often wondered why we tend to fear our emotions and suppress them, preventing us from truly experiencing and understanding them. By delving into our emotions, we gain insight into ourselves, and this knowledge allows us to exercise better control over our lives and make positive changes. This is particularly crucial for anxious individuals. For example, understanding why we feel anger, frustration, or fear enable us to connect better with ourselves and make necessary adjustment to enhance our experiences. It's important to note that I'm not suggesting we avoid situations or emotions that make us uncomfortable. Sometimes we need to face stress, anger, or fear to learn how to manage them effectively. One book that has significantly deepened my understanding of my feelings and emotions is the book Si je m'écoutais, je m'entendrais. Unfortunately, it's currently available only in French. However, I will soon share more books recommendation that can help you navigate your emotions. The final tip I would like to share is to write down your thoughts, your own version of the story. You can begin by doing this in a private way. You can easily conceal those paper and notes you've written, and nobody will discover them. Start by expressing your thought to yourself, even if it's just within your own mind. Then articulate your thoughts by putting them into words and writing them down. This process helps you feel and understand your thoughts more vividly. It's remarkably effective. You need to practice developing your own thoughts about the things that matter to you. Even if you are afraid to voice them to someone else, begin by expressing them to yourself. And when you feel the need and are ready to share them with others, you can do so.